Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is a special episode of Secret Sessions. I think it's number 9. I forget. It's been a while. Life's been lifing. I'm with my co-host Alan Lynch. We have a guest on today, Alfred Paige. Page One Comics, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I'll let Alan take it from here, and we're gonna have fun. Let's get into it, guys.
So what's up, Alfred? Introduce yourself so everyone could kind of know who you are, what you're about, and some of the stuff you've done, and maybe some of the upcoming projects.
All right. My name is Alfred Paige from Page One Comics. I've been writing comics for since around 99, 2000. My flagship title, Chess, has been around since around 2001, 2002. Since then, I've been writing a couple of comics, a couple of one shots, and even some for other companies like Second Sight and things like that. So I've been around a little while.
Okay, that's good. That's cool.
Good to hear.
One of the interesting things you just said, which you don't really find much indie creators talk about, is creating one-shot comics. What do you think about one-shot comics versus people doing epic like series of six story arcs or 12 story arcs? Why do you like the idea of one shots, or if you which one do you prefer to work with?
Now, for me, I prefer one shots because I did the runs already. I did 4 issues, 5 issues of that, 4 issues of this, and those runs take up a lot of time. And now, because I'm older and there's other things going on, I just do the more fun projects or write for hire projects that is quicker and more fun and gives me more flexibility in that one storyline.
Quick question: what are some of the pitfalls that you noticed between doing like a full story arc versus doing a one shot?
Well, the pitfalls, it's time consuming. It's not that I can't do a serious, but in today's day and age where everything's kind of short lived. You know what I mean? Back then, it was kind of standard to have a 4-issue run of a comic book in submissions and whatever, if you submitted something to Image or Dark Horse. The requirements was 4 issues. All right, so that's the standard. When you learn how to write comic books and learn how to do a script, you was taught in a structure of 4 issues.
Okay.
So
when you first started when you first started, your aim was to kind of pitch to Image and other creators like that. Your aim was to work with Image.
Huh?
Did I submit to Image?
No, if you did, but was that your aim to try to do that, submit to Image?
Oh yeah. I'm like everybody else. I was trying to get Image so bad, I almost climbed through their windows.
So you said it's 4 issues minimum. I know with Image, you have some upfront costs. You want to share like what some of the upfront cost is when in the submission process, or walk us through the whole submission process from what you remember.
The upfront cost is your production. When you submit, you guys submit a certain amount of pages, a certain amount. You're submitting your presentation of what your comic book going to look like. So your cost is, whatever your colorist is, your letterer, whatever cost it is to put that product together, and then you times that for 4 issues.
Yeah, and if I can remember correctly, one of the things too that is not really a setback, but something that you have to kind of be really serious about is if you submit a team and you get approved, you have to work with that team. So you can't change the team. So if you submit,
that is correct.
If you submit and I have Ron's artwork and I have Joe Blow on lettering, I can't change anybody that they've approved, because that's what they wanted. They were sold on that artwork. They were sold on that style. So the smaller indie, from my experience, one of the disadvantages of doing these 6 and 5 issue runs, it's hard to keep the art team together on the real small scale because you don't know. These guys will flick. Sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes finance. You can't get back to paying a person for a year. So it does have its ups and downs in that regard also.
That's correct.
Question. How effective is, let's say, contracts and contractual obligations at that level?
They're important because your submission depends on them. So
I meant with
back
like
then,
that team. I meant with like the like making sure that the team, like he said, artists may flake, and having like a contract in place to make sure that that doesn't happen or that there's financial compensation in case they do flake. What is it, recompense or something like that?
yeah, I mean the contract back then, like I said, the method that comic books was at the time with the submissions, everything, it was needed because if you change your artist or anything changes, you gotta resubmit. You could be, a whole issue in or 2 issues in, and then all of a sudden, if an artist leaves and you don't have a contract or some kind of a consequence for him leaving, next thing you know, you got two issues in, now you got to resubmit all over again. You know what I mean? And start from scratch. So, yeah, those things were needed in the guidelines of what was going on.
Yeah, from my personal experience, it's a little bit of the contracts. When I have a contract, or you have a contract for someone in the Philippines, or you have a contract with somebody in Brazil, there is no way for you really sometimes to enforce the contract. You know what I mean? It's a paper tiger. If you get what I mean. If I tell you, if I tell you I'm going to work with you and I'm going to write for you, but then something happens, it's not like you can come and knock on my door, or the amount of legal bullshit that will happen sometimes. So those are one of the things that is scary about working in the real small scale. I think if you are an established name and all parties are established, you have an artist who has an established name, mainly because of reputation, people are going to stay there. You're going to stay there. But if you have people who there's no reputation, the job is a job because they need something to eat, they're going to move on to something else if you take too long, or sometimes things just happen and they will just flake, and a contract doesn't mean shit, just to be realistic. I've had people duck out and fall out with artists, and there was no real way for me to get anything out of them. It's just me hoping on the mercies that they will either send me what artwork they've finished or give me back some of the money I've paid. But really, unless you pay them through something like PayPal, where you can talk to or Fiverr or some other in-between company who can tell you, well, we can get back your funds. Sometimes that's the only leverage you have.
I ask because I have other friends that are independent creators and they've had issues with artists flaking. Obviously, I've talked to Alan about that problem. So I wanted to hear your perspective on it too, because I know that's one of the hurdles just in general in the indie space, whether that's Black, white, Latino, whatever, is making sure that people are obligated, like they have a reason to continue going. And that's something that I think needs to be talked about more often. There's always the attitude of I'm with the doers, but do you understand what it takes to do? So
I would say the best way to get around that is a trusted art team or a trusted people that you know, because to be honest, unless you get an exclusive contract to Marvel or DC or Dark Horse where you become exclusive to that company, and now you're responsible for those products of that company only, and they're paying you for that. In the independent scene, it's kind of hard to be like, I want to put this person underneath a contract, because your project is not enough to make somebody underneath a contract. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to try to get other. He's going to try to get other projects and stuff like that. So I mean, unless you got the capital to.
Yeah, but what you're talking about is an exclusive contract, which is, like you said, which is even.
And I don't even know.
That's even harder. That's even harder to do an exclusive.
Exclusive, like you said, you're going to have to probably be Marvel, DC, and I don't even know. It's probably been years since they've done exclusives. I mean, they were doing them heavy in the mid 2000s. Andy and Adam Kubert went under exclusive contract with DC. They were just. It was kind of like I don't know. Did you ever read X-Men Schism? And people were picking lines. That's kind of what Marvel and DC were doing. They were exclusive contracting this one, exclusive contracting that one. Not just with artists.
They still do that.
Writers. Huh?
Yeah, they still do that. They still do that. One of the artists I was working with, Nito Diaz, who did several covers and stuff like that. I was working with. He got an exclusive contract with Marvel, X-Men, and stuff like that. So it still happens.
Okay. I apologize, people. We are spiking somewhere. That's probably some type of radio interference or headphone interference, but we're just gonna have to work through it.
Right.
We just keep on pushing, baby. Okay. Well, go ahead.
So about the other thing is the one shots. So which will kind of lead into the crossovers. So most of the crossovers you've been doing, that I've been seeing coming about now, a lot of these crossovers are one shots, or they're more than that.
No, now I concentrate more on one shots, particularly me. So yeah, a lot of the stories I do is usually a one shot story.
But I'm talking about related to the crossovers that you're doing. Are the crossovers all one shots?
The crossovers are one shots as well. I usually don't go into a long range series with crossovers because I just haven't lately. Yeah. I used to.
So essentially, what he's saying is all your one shots are self-contained stories.
Yeah,
that's correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of them are one shots. Yes, that's correct.
Well, no, they're one shots, but they're not one shots that like, okay, you do one a year, then the next one is also connected to it. They're completely just self-contained. Like you only need to read that one. You're not going to need to read the next one because that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Right. That crossover, for the most part, the crossover with that character is a self-contained story. Not to say that some of them can't be continued, or meet up again. I mean, in the indie market, anything's possible. Right. But for the most part, if you get that crossover, that's the beginning and end of that story.
Yeah. Okay.
So how is it being working with other creators on these one shots? Has it been how does the process start? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? I realize this is something that is not necessarily new, but I'm seeing more and more crossovers. Like Watson is doing one. You did one with Beer and Bullets. There's more of this kind of thing. What do you think kind of sparked that? No. Why? How come we're doing that? Where before a couple of years ago, everybody was so holding their IPs to their chest, and nobody didn't want to kind of do anything fun with their books. What do you think is causing it to kind of open up now?
Well, for me, I always did crossovers. My second comic book was a crossover Footpath back in like 2004. So I always done crossovers over the years. I think it's so big now because the bigger companies are doing them also. Right? You got DC, Marvel. You got who is that? Dynamite doing a Silver Hawks Thundercats crossover. You got a couple other indie people doing crossovers like Run the Gauntlet, Hot Shot, and things like that. So it's just now it seems to be more visible. But crossovers always been around. I've been doing crossovers any chance I get.
I mean, yeah, crossovers have been around, but I think what Alan is saying is that right now we're seeing a paradigm shift to that versus and let's just dealing with independent publishers. Because first of all, crossovers in general are all cash grabs. I mean, they have been since World Finest #1. Like cash grabs. That's the only reason why Superman, Batman, and Robin are on a damn battleship on the barrels. It's a cash grab and propaganda too. But it just seems like now there, especially in Black indies, there's a paradigm shift. Would you say that they're kind of following the trend of larger publishers, or is this a thing where it's like
is this a strategic move?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a strategic?
My individual Kickstarter to get funded, but if we do a crossover, that's more buzz, and it seems is it more of a mutual beneficial relationship to do the crossover? Not that they haven't been done before, but just the recent paradigm shift that we're seeing, where, like Alan said, all these different companies, indie, are doing them.
I get, it depends on the characters and the fun. I mean, crossovers is a chance to let go of your regular storyline. So for some writers like me and others, that's appealing. So the only reason I think there's more light on it now is because it's not just the indies; it's everywhere. So now it just looks like everybody's doing it, but the indie market been doing that, has always been working together and doing crossovers here and there.
It just seems like right now there's a higher frequency. We're just seeing more at the same time. Like I said, not that they've never done it. We want to make that clear. Not that they've never done it. It's just at this point in time, it just seems that a lot of them are doing it at the same time. Kind of like, I'll give you an example. Like when Coke came out with lemon flavor, then Pepsi did it, and everybody got a lemon flavor. Then they switched to orange. And you saw the same thing even with cleaning products like Pine Sol. Oh, Pine Sol with lemon. Now everybody and their mama got a lemon. Then when they went to orange, everybody got a damn orange. You know what I mean? So you start to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So far, in this new wave of crossovers, tell me about some of the books that. What do we have coming? What do you have coming up in the next year or so, or who are you working with?
As far as crossovers, I'm finishing up a crossover that I started years ago. Unfortunately, I got sick and it caused a big pause in production. But we're coming back to a crossover called Chess Edge Phantoms with me and Marvin Wayne, Comicsburg. And we started that so many years ago. And now we're just getting ready to put that fulfillment out and project out. On top of that, I got a couple other crossovers that's in the queue, waiting for approval and edits. 2 with Concrete, 1 with Second Sight. So there's a couple that I'm just waiting for the green light and all the approvals to get across, and then line those up for next year as well. I also got one called Hostile Assets that I'm doing with comic book legend Mark Paultron from Haunted Pizza Comics.
I think real quick, I don't mean to cut you off. I think that spiking is coming from whatever your setup is. I just wanted, so I don't know if there's like an additional microphone nearby or whatever, but I think it's coming. But either way, we'll move past it. Sorry. Go ahead, man.
So
I'm doing a crossover called Hostile Assets with Mark Paultron of Haunted Pizza Comics, and that one was fun because some of these crossovers start by a conversation. So me and him just happen to be talking about the comic books that we love from Image and characters, and if we had a chance to do, and then it's like, well, let's do it, and it's just that fast. So
I want you
my
to
character.
I want you to expound because I was going to ask you, like, what does the collaborative process look like from beginning to end? And you're already leading down that way. So take us through that whole process.
I mean, the process is different for anybody, for everybody. It's not one particular process, but
no, it's not.
A lot of times for me, it's just conversation. Mm-hmm. So you'd be talking about somebody about me and Mark just happen to be talking about 90s comics. And the comic books that, we like, damn, I miss when comic books did this, or I miss this type of action. And he was like, yeah, and let's do it. So, that's how those conversations start sometimes.
Yeah.
Usually it's just a quick conversation.
Yeah. So I imagine that's how it starts for a lot of people, even if you work for, I don't want to say the big two, but let's just say mainstream publishers. What I'm more interested in is, and I don't want to step on any of Alan's questions. I don't know if this is a question that you have, but Once you get past that initial conversation, the collaborative process that I want to hear is like when you actually start doing it, what does that look like? Like I get how
do you do most of the writing? Is it a 50-50 split? Who handles the script? Do you know?
Yeah, walk us through the technical process.
Because one of the things that is kind of I've had difficulty or I haven't really collabed with a lot of people is getting over the hurdle of how would I go about co-writing something with someone. I see some people it's easier to do, some people it's harder to do. You have different people with different ideas, different styles. So these are some of the things that you would obviously have to get over to get the book coming together. Not only that, you have to have a really good knowledge of storytelling because people don't realize it's harder to write a shorter comic book story than it is a longer story because you have to kind of wrap it up and have a nice, neat bow. While when you do like a 4-issue or 6-issue run, you're giving yourself so much room to kind of feel your way out, While when you have a one shot and you have 30 pages, you got to admit that you have to stick that landing. So how is it with writing? Do you do most of the writing, or how does that go about? How do you get the script done?
When I would talk to the creator once we decide to do a crossover. I'd be like, well, let me give you an idea. So I'll take some time to go back and give him an outline. If he approves the outline, then I'll break it down to a script. And then, of course, they approve script. Now, the production of it, that's just up in grabs for the conversation. So sometimes I could do one half. They say I do the script and the writing. He'll do the artwork and the colors. So, it depends on the relationship and the contract you have with that particular creator. There's no rule. I mean, it goes either way. Sometimes it's on you. Sometimes it's on them. Sometimes they're doing this through their Kickstarter.
So slow down. So you're saying sometimes you could actually get a collaboration where you say, well, look, I will write it and I'll do the script. And the other party would basically take the script and they would pay for the artwork and the colors and that kind of stuff.
Correct. Right. Sometimes you split the cost. That's right.
I was going to ask that question because all this is fine and dandy, but then relationships break down once money is involved, So I wanted to know that one myself.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, circumstances do happen, but 9 times out of 10, it works out if you just talk about how it's going to work out up front and just get it done that way. And the process is easy.
Okay. Yeah. And I also imagine, especially once everybody knows what their responsibilities are, both production wise and financially, it makes it easier. And when you fall short of that, like you said, a simple conversation, be truthful, be honest, and then do your best after that to try to meet those obligations. I assume, really helps.
That's correct. Sometimes it's hard because, of course, your obligation depends on the people you're working with. So no matter how intentional you are, if your artist drops off or your anchor stops or something else happens in the middle of your production, you're stuck to start all over again. So, I mean, as much as you can be responsible for up to your part, and then the others hopefully be as responsible with their part.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the easiest one you had as far as this whole process versus the worst one? I mean, you don't necessarily have to name names if you don't want to, but yeah, which book was the easiest? Which crossover or collaborative effort was the easiest versus which one was the most problematic?
Phantoms, the Chest Edge Phantoms was supposed to be more than one issue. I think it's supposed to be like a 3-issue run. And because of when it started and things that happened at the time that it started and between companies and everything that's going on, that turned out to be a difficult one. So we've been working on that for years and years, and it's always something going on. It's like it has a black cloud over it. The easiest one in recent would be Bear and Bullet, which was just a conversation that fast. You know what I mean? About 3 characters that we all had in different companies that on the outside looks like the same character. You know, if you get that person's comic book and his comic book and my comic book, people would say it's the same comic book, or the character is similar. So the only way to I had the idea to do a crossover just to show how
you want to hold the camera up because the light has you in shadow right now. There we go. Yeah. I want to make sure everybody can see your face.
Yeah, so I did Bear and Bullets to showcase the difference between the characters in a fun way. So that was the easy one. That one was really quick. Shout out to Malcolm McFadden, who did the presentation for that one, and did a fantastic job with the Kickstarter and everything. So
yeah, so I would also imagine that it kind of helps to have more people on the Kickstarter versus you. But I've done Kickstarters and it's been mainly on the shoulders of the creator, because yes, they have artists, yes, there's the editor, and yes, the colorist, but most of those guys have been paid already, so they will kind of say, yeah, I'll promote it, but they don't have the skin in the game like the creator. The creator is the one that's, so I can imagine if you spread the load among 3 creators, it's a little easier on you to do the promotion and that kind of stuff. So how was the Kickstarter? I know you all did have like a little bit of a hiccup because I don't think it didn't fund the first time, but you guys came back and then you kind of hit out with park on the second time. So what was that your first Kickstarter, or you've done Kickstarters before?
Yeah, I've been involved in Kickstarters before. Over the years, and sometimes they don't fund. So it's all about timing. You know, when we did Bear and Bullets the first time, we did it at a time that he was doing right in the middle of another project, and we was like, all right, let's concentrate on this project, and we'll come back around and do a Kickstarter for Bear and Bullets later, which we did, and then it got funded, and 615 Comics was the ones in charge of the Kickstarter and the funding and the fulfillment. And it's been a beautiful process. I mean, they are already out. They came out even early, ahead of schedule, and people are loving the product. So yeah, we got lucky with that one.
Yeah.
I had a question. For somebody like me who's never set up a Kickstarter, you want to walk us through the process of what that is and setting it up, because I imagine Kickstarter has to get some type of money from it. What percentage you get, why you set your goals the way you do, like if you like Stranger Comics Sebastian with not Jason Wise, but his last book, he set it for $10,000. Like, I know that number is not an arbitrary number. So walk us through that process as if for somebody like me who's never set up one. And Alan, I would love to hear you chime in too as somebody who's also set up a Kickstarter.
But I don't do Kickstarters. So I had my title coming through Diamond at the time, you know, in distribution in comic book stores. I wasn't really doing Kickstarters. So the process doing Kickstarter is its own business itself. You know, you got to build up your list. You got to build up your fan base. You got, you know, to make it successful. So and that turns for people that do Kickstarters, they take years in building up their backing and support system for their projects. You know, whether it's an email list, whether it's a friends and family list, contacts through social media, they have to build that list and build that reputation so the Kickstarter to grow and stay repetitious throughout the years.
Okay. Just to set the question for a bit, because you just mentioned something that I found pretty interesting. So you said that you used to distribute through Diamond. So how has it been now that Diamond no longer exists? What have you been doing in terms of your distribution?
Yeah, Diamond went down. Unfortunately, yes, Diamond went down. Since then, I did 2 Kickstarters. I joined it with 2 Kickstarters, not myself, but I joined it with the Kickstarter with 618 Comics. I joined in another Kickstarter with Jonathan Hendrick Comics with Footpath, and we did those. And I just signed on some titles to Philbo Distribution, which we're looking to get some things back in stores and back available for people in stores starting next month. So we're going to see how that works out.
So,
go ahead, Alan.
No, I was going to say, so back when you distributed with Diamond, you would say that it was a different ball game in terms of, because it meant that you didn't have to go to Kickstarters because you kind of just went straight into the comic book shops and that kind of stuff. How was it for you? Did you have like a fan base that kind of was really kind of trying to clamoring for your work? How was it? What was the feedback like? Because I would imagine you were in quite a few comic book shops.
Correct. At the time that I was in Diamond, I went through my chess run. Then I went into a run of one of my characters called Blowtorch through Diamond for a couple of years, which was very successful. Another title called Daisy Chain, which was very successful. So Diamond was fantastic up to the point that it went down. The growth was incredible. The fan base grew for the characters and the storylines I was putting out. I was definitely getting recognized at conventions and requests at conventions, and got into some of the bigger shows.
Okay, that's good.
With people. I even had a signing with Tyler Kirkland at MegaCon for one of my titles. So and I had another signing with Comic Exposure at New York Comic Con for Daisy Chain, and the fan base is fantastic. And I got a chance to do exclusives and work with really incredible artists of the industry. And it was a fantastic process. All the way up to it closed down.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Describe to us what it takes for Diamond to pick you up and distribute your work. And I know that you said that Diamond was great for you, and it seems like it was great for indie publishers, but I know a couple of retailers, comic book shop owners that hated Diamond, and honestly, they're glad to see Diamond gone. But I want to know, like, tell people what it used to take for Diamond to pick you up, because they weren't picking up everybody. I used to flip through previews and all that stuff, and so
yeah, I mean, at one time it was really hard to get into Diamond, and then they got a little bit more open to the indie market as some of the majors were making different moves. So right. And to be honest, Diamond is the monopoly of the business. So that's what everybody's trying to go to if you want to be distributed. Not that everybody wants to be in stores. Some people make a business of doing Kickstarters and not going to stores and do direct market. But if your aim was to get in stores and stuff like that, then you gotta go through the Diamond process and get into Diamond and do it that way. At that time, that's the monopoly at the time.
Yeah, because Diamond took out a lot of major publishers. Steve Jeppy, for anybody who doesn't know, it was founded by a guy named Steve Jeppy. He actually used to work for, if I remember correctly, the U.S. Postal Service. And then he convinced them all the majors to distribute. And then from there, like you said, I wouldn't say monopolist, but definitely consolidated power and became for many years the go-to. There were still some smaller local regional distributors, but Diamond was the major distributor. And then,
Diamond was the monopoly. That's correct. Yeah. Diamond was the monopoly distributor.
Yeah. And I think it started to crumble. I mean, obviously the internet does a lot with that, but I think it really started to crumble when DC just said, fuck it. And said, we're leaving. I think major publishers probably got tired of hearing retailers like comic book shops and whoever complaining about Diamond's service. Like I said, I know people that own a comic book shop, a guy I've known for 20 years, and they would tell me all the time about how Diamond was the worst, especially their customer service, damaged books, returns, percentages, wholesale, all of that. Diamond, in my opinion, listening to my friends who run shops, Diamond caused their own demise.
But it happens when you have a monopoly.
Yeah.
That happens all the time with a monopoly.
And I'm just surprised that it actually took DC and Marvel that long to realize, like, you know what, we can go. You need us more than we need you. So.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, sometimes when you got a company that goes through different managing phrases and different people coming on and off in business terms, those things tend to happen. So hopefully they come back one day and bring back the right amount of energy back into the industry.
I think didn't most of their assets actually get sold to like a European company?
Yeah,
so you might see something like that.
They got splintered to the wind. They got divided up. They're not coming back together.
No.
Yeah.
I think you might see a rise in different distributors, but right now it looks like Lunar and forgive me if I said Luna, it's Lunar and Publishers Clearinghouse that's distributing Marvel right now. No, Penguin. It's Penguin that's distributing Marvel and some of the other ones.
There's a few others. There's still a few doors open for indies to do it, but it is when you Paige, when you did the Diamond distribution, what was your minimum order? What was the smallest amount of books you had to send to Diamond?
Maybe around 1,000.
Yeah, so that's
I would say around 1,000. Playing around that. The indie market was lower than obviously the major market. So 1 to 2 or 1 to 3,000 is usually the numbers that we would circulate in.
Okay.
What's the wholesale cost for that? If you remember.
Did you do print on demand or did you do offset printing? Because that's a big number to do print on demand.
No, you had to do your minimum, or you had to do your number. I did over because obviously at the time I was doing conventions as well. So the cost varies. I mean, you can't really give a cost on those things, but I did all my set one time, and then the extras I had sent to me, the rest is sent to Diamond for distribution, and I used the extras for my convention run or limited for my convention run.
The reason why I ask is because there are people who are probably relatively new fans and whatever. So, and if they're inspired to get into the business, the reason why I'm asking you some of the technical stuff is because I kind of want them to get an idea of what they could be looking at. That's one of the benefits to having Alan. As I told you off recording, like me and Alan talk a lot of times, and there's a lot of good information. I feel like I say it every time, like, man, we should have recorded that. Those are little nuggets that people can learn from, and it kind of help them set expectations because we understand it's not cheap to do this. It's not cheap to do any of this. Even running StreamYard is $43 a month. You know, that's coming out of somebody's pocket. So when you set this up, understand what it is you're getting yourself into. And sometimes I don't think people realize that. They get this mentality of, I'm just going to do. I'm like, it's not that easy. There is the cost. Then there's when you complete the product, you got to be ready for what comes on the back end. Everybody ain't going to like it. Some people will love it. Some people will hate it. And some people will be in the middle, you know, and that's something that we as admins have kind of seen, like some people aren't prepared for the entirety of the process. It's no different than music. It's no different than movies. You know, a lot of people like it, but you don't understand what it takes to make it. And I'll tell you guys right now, I've listened to an audiobook on just music contracts. Man, we talked about contracts in this conversation. Music contracts are a pain in the ass. That shit hurts my head. And I'm a smart person. When you got to look at all the different ways that licensing and pay, oh my God. Oh God. Well, let's move on from that because I'll have to take some aspirin. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. So you sent us some covers and stuff. You want to kind of go through the covers and tell us some stuff about them and the stories behind them and stuff?
Fantastic. Pull them up.
All right, let's go.
All right, let's see, because I'm gonna have to let me know. You want to start with Beer and Bullets?
Variant Bullets, the mega crossover between Advent Comics, 615 Comics, and Page One Comics. This is a fun project. Again, it started off through a conversation of our characters, and I had the idea to say, well, let's just show the difference in our characters in one crossover. We did a simple action style crossover. The success of it has really been magnificent. I mean, and next month in Filbo distribution, this cover will be available in that distribution to get in stores. So this cover will be available for you to order to stores next month.
Okay.
So this is how you would say, like, if you were on League of Geek and this was listed, this would be the cover A.
Yeah, this is going to be the distribution cover. The cover that's on League of Geeks was the Kickstarter cover.
Oh, no. I didn't know if you were on League of Geek, but I was just saying if somebody were to look it up, what you're saying is this cover right here would be cover A, because they have cover A, cover B, cover C. If you're
That's correct. That's correct. But the other covers are available in the Kickstarter. This particular cover is only available for distribution.
Okay. And the reason why I want people to understand, like, who are listening, well, why is he saying cover A? Cover A is usually your base cover. Cover B is usually your next variant, or it's a 50-50 split. Then cover C and on will start to be ratios and whatnot. And you don't have any ratio variants with this, do you?
I don't know.
We got in the Kickstarter, we had a foil variant for the higher pledge numbers, and those are coming out. Those are being worked on right now by Malcolm, and those probably be the most limited ones we had. The rest of them is even rewards throughout the campaign. So it's just about which one you wanted. If you wanted one or you wanted all three, the option was there for you.
Okay. So I want to kind of make a clarification. So there's a difference between variants that are just limited, like he said, that foil cover, which is just limited, and then ratios, which are usually like 1 in 10, which means for every 10 that a retailer would have to order, you get one of those variants, or 1 in 25. That's not the same as this is just a completely limited print run.
Okay.
Well, that's a distribution thing. It's not really a Kickstarter thing.
No, but I just wanted to explain some terminology because, like I said, I want people to clearly understand.
Oh, yeah.
Because you ever seen a conversation where people talk and they throw out so many technical terms and it's great information, but they
don't know what it means.
Yeah, but if everybody doesn't know what that means, and I've seen it whether it's in comic book buy subgroups. You get some new people in and they're like, "What's a ratio variant?" They don't know. Like 1 in 10 for every 10 of the regular cover, a retailer gets one of these, or limited print run where it's like you can order these, but they're only making, let's say, I'm gonna throw out an arbitrary number, like 7,500. That's gonna be distributed to amongst everybody, So that's why I'm making the distinction there so people understand.
Yeah, sometimes you do a ratio cover that's limited and it's harder to get. So to get it, a comic book store will have to order a certain amount to get that particular cover.
Yeah.
So it makes those covers, when you do get it, a little bit more valuable, and the ones you kind of hold on to. And it's usually done by somebody that has a name to it or is in that market of doing ratio covers. I did one not too long ago with Tyler Kirkland, and it's a fantastic process with comic exposure. So when you get those type of covers and those type of situations, the comic book stores have to order a certain number just to get that one cover. You know what I mean? So
who did the cover? Who did this cover? Who did this cover?
Dave Sane did this cover.
Okay. Because I like this. This looks pretty interesting. It's a pretty good cover.
Yep, Dave Sane did this cover. He's the first ones to do a cover. This one was not included as a cover in the Kickstarter because we had so many covers. We had like 2 by S and Isles. We had 2 by Surge. We had a lot of covers. We had the Tommy Shelton foil cover. So we had a lot of covers. So we didn't use all of them as covers in the Kickstarter. So this is one of the ones that was not used in the Kickstarter as a cover. And now to get this particular cover, you would have to order it from the distribution, Philbo's distribution in January.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So let's see another cover, Ron.
Okay. You want to? Oh, let me go to the beginning of this file. It's all in how I had to set this up. You want to start with this one, or you want to go?
Tell us about this.
We can start here.
Mm-hmm. So what's this?
This comic book is called Osmo. I am working with a creator called DeMario Hill. DeMario Hill is a long-time comic book collector that supported the industry for a while, and he wanted to jump into having his own comic book as much as, you know, enjoying others. So he worked with a person named Nathan Rose on the creation of this character, and then our conversation was, well, what direction can we give him? So
so you're working as a writer, or you're like the editor? How are you involved in the project?
I am writing and helping him overlook the direction and pacing of the project.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So
I find that, sorry to cut you off. I find that sometimes a lot of people jump in and they have a good idea, but they think it's easy to write a comic book and they don't consult someone who has experience, and then they kind of then write something that's kind of flat or it's not very good. So it's kind of interesting that he seeked out someone to kind of give him some advice on the project, and not that a lot of people think, I read comics, I know a good comic book, so I can write a good comic book, but it's not that simple.
Right. Yeah. I did these indie pinups not too long ago. I just did pinups of a bunch of indie characters, and that's when he first developed the character, and he was like, I'd like to see my character. I would love to see him in a comic book of his own. And I was like, let's make that happen. So we talked direction, and then that direction went into production, incredible production at that. And now this title would be added to the Page One Comics family sometime early 2026.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the character.
Osmo is an ex-cop who had a drinking problem. He has powers of making duplicates, and he could stretch. Something like a Mr. like Plastic Man or Mr. Fantastic in that type of realm. And he can make duplicates of himself. So
can the duplicate stretch also, or is the stretching only limited to the Prime?
Yeah.
All the duplicates have the same abilities as he does.
Okay, so this is a very interesting one. So is the duplication in this current in his case, is it a hive mind? So when he duplicates, he's still one person, or is it a case where each duplicate starts to gain their own personality and sentience? And what causes them to come back together? Is he weaker as he if he duplicates into 5, is it still the strength of one person, or what are some of the drawbacks of the duplication, or what is the style of the duplication?
All his duplicates are free thinking. I mean, they don't go off like go rampage or something like that, but they do have their own thoughts. They can act as individuals. He doesn't have a time limit of how long his duplicates could be out, but they do back a suit up into him at will. So he has total control of how long they are. It's not like he could make a duplicate and they run away. You know what I mean? There is a connection to him that he can always bring that duplicate back when he's ready. And it doesn't affect his strength. He doesn't have extraordinary strength. It doesn't, whether he's in the duplicate or not, there's no extra advantages to strength, anything like that. It's just the same powers of stretching.
So it's kind of like Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man. His dupes, as he calls them, they can kind of go out and do their own will, unless when they touch him, they're absorbed automatically back into him. But to what Alan was saying is, as he duplicates, it's not necessarily additional strength. whatever. So if he had like a strength, let's say if we gave it a number of, let's say 50, as he stretched, that would be divided amongst each of his duplicates. So in general, all of the duplicates, including himself, are weaker because just as you spread a material out, it gets thinner and thinner. So with power, strength, and
is there any drawbacks for him to duplicate? Is there a drawback? Because I find that one of the things that I see in the indie space is a lot of heroes have advantages, but there's no disadvantage to them using their powers. There's no drawback. There's no ebb and flow. So, something that I find interesting in superheroes is when there's something that's going to either run out or there's some kind of catch-22 about what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I kind of ask, like, if he's duplicating, what is the drawbacks of him duplicating? Why not just populate the entire planet? You know what I mean? What is the drawbacks of duplication?
One of the drawbacks would be sometimes the duplicates bring out different emotions. So just like split personalities. So one duplicate might come out and have one personality, and one duplicate might come out and have another. So depending on what's going on or what's going on in his life at the time. So
no, go ahead, man. No, go ahead. I was going to say something.
Yeah. So what's going on at the time, or what's making him go through the process of duplicating, whether it's self-defense or whatever the reason is that he's using his powers at that time, whatever emotions that he has going on at that time, sometimes can be reflected as he duplicates. But none of his duplicates lose strength or power as he duplicates. They all are at even power as he duplicates.
So like I said, so then if he just by himself is level 50, every duplicate has level 50 like strength. But it seems like mentally that's not the case. As you said, different emotions come out with different duplicates. So that's kind of what Alan is talking about. Like, it's more interesting, at least even to me, it's more interesting. Like, if you're going to duplicate something, like Alan said, if you got level 50 mentality, level 50 strength, and every duplicate is equal and they're on par, like you said, you could easily just take over the planet. What could really stop you? There's no drawback. There's no weakness. And, so it's just like, why? Like, why don't you just do that?
That would be the case if Jamie, as you said before, Jamie, multiple man that was in Marvel, his duplicates could last. His duplicates can have a life outside of him. Optimal duplicates can't really expand a life outside of them. At some point, they're going to come back in.
Okay.
So
there's no time limit per se, but at some point. So let me put it like this. So would you say that at some point degradation does set in? Like, I mean, we see that sometimes with characters who can do multiples. Like, oh yeah, this dupe can stay out for 90 plus days, but something starts to degrade. Like, I don't know if you know, but like when you copy an MP3 or even a JPEG file, each copy starts to degrade a little bit. It's minute, but it does degrade.
Yeah, I would say at some point it becomes a strain to keep the duplicates out. So for a certain period, his duplicate, he could do a lot of duplicates, and if needed, have his own little personal army if he needed it to. But at some point, of course, the strain will bring them all back. They can't go off and live a life like Jamie Matrix could in X-Men.
One last question before we move on, which is what when you said do an army, it made me think. If the duplicates are shot and killed, does he feel the pain? Can the duplicates die? Can he do like an army and 50 of them get shot down? Like, and will he feel that pain from them being killed?
would it also cause a mental strain? Because if he could feel the pain, it would also have to affect him mentally.
Psychologically and stuff.
Yeah, I would imagine those questions would be answered in the pages of the comic book as Mario, stays with the production of the comic book and answer those questions throughout the pages, so you get to know the character.
And I would just say, like, you don't have to like do all that at once. I took a short writing class when I was in college, one of the first times, and you learn that you could spread that out over the series, and it'll give you something to talk about too. Because oftentimes in some stories, it feels like they got to cram everything in it, and the kitchen sink and the house note and all that. And it's like, no, certain things you can spread out. Like I learned, like with character description, when you do a short story or a prose novel, like when you're in elementary school, you probably describe your character all in the first paragraph. But what you learn as you go along, you could introduce a character, then in chapter 2, say they've got red hair. Then in, chapter 3 or 4, describe what their skin looks like. You don't have to, you learn new techniques to spread that out.
Yeah.
And so
what's the next cover? You continue.
Yeah, I say it depends on the character too. Some characters have a standard story and look that's explained as to how they got to that point. Say like a Superman or something like that. Those are the clothes he bought from Krypton. That's his actual clothes from his home planet, right? Yeah. So some characters have a background of why they look the way they do. Some characters don't have that because they're not a standard look. Every time you see them, they could change their clothes. They could change their hairstyle. They could, just like me and you. You know what I mean? So not every comic book they're gonna look exactly the same. They might have a uniform look for something, or that they particularly wear, but they're not. They could change their clothes. You could put them in jeans on one issue and something in the next issue. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have a standard background look that he goes by.
Yeah, and sometimes, like with me, because you mentioned how like Superman has a standard look, and sometimes fans and just things, they get so used to it, so it's like you can't change how they look. Like you're not going to get an issue where Superman is bald headed or he's got a low cut Caesar. They want his hair the same length every time. I mean, the last time they probably changed his hair was back in the 80s when he had a Jerry curl type of thing going on. And so, yeah,
that's correct. Superman's a trademark look. So when you're going for something that's a trademark look, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Captain America, these are characters with a trademark look. So that look is going to stay the way it is. I mean, it might be some variations depending on the artist coming in. Sometimes Superman got the red underwear, sometimes it's all blue. You know what I mean? But for the most part, the outline is going to be a trademark outline that is continued throughout the stories.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Let's see. This is a blowtorch. Okay, I like this.
Yeah.
I'll be real with you. I could fuck with this. I could see this as a gold foil. I could even. I don't mean to cut you, but I could see you changing the colors, maybe like with magenta, using a CMYK color scheme. Yeah. I like that one. That's dope.
Now this one here is Blowtorch Barrier to Pass. This is one of the comic books that was distributed through Diamond. We did a convention limited that did incredible. So now I'm making it available to be in stores for people that want to get it through stores. So this particular cover is a reprint. It's a gold foil cover.
Okay,
nice.
That's the standard. It's not a regular cover. It's coming as a gold foil cover. It's a limited gold foil cover edition that we're offering through stores next month for this particular cover. A Nito Diaz cover, gold foil version. Okay. So if you're looking to get a limited cover that a lot of people can't get through conventions, not everybody have access to it. This is a way for you to have access to it for the month of January for this Nito Diaz gold foil cover.
Okay.
You ever thought about, because you're still coming in the shadow, but you ever thought about doing a displate, DISPLATE? Have you ever heard of Displate? Displate is a real company. They do metal print posters. You can set up an artist profile. I've bought from them. They're a real company. They're not a Chinese company. They are a company in, I believe it's Norway or Sweden. And the guy who will print out your poster, he signs the back of it. But they do have actual licensing with Marvel, DC, other companies, Hasbro. You may have seen their ads on Instagram or whatever. I only bring that up because this could make a nice
metal poster, yeah.
And it's something that I've suggested to Alan. I don't suggest that to every creator, but when I do see something that is kind of unique, this is one of those things I could see. And I've seen posters like this, like done with Seven Deadly Sins and whatnot. I've seen something similar to that, so maybe something you want to think about. And like I said, that's print to order. So you can set up that artist profile and, guide people to it. And then y'all can work all that out. But if you want to see it like a review video, I do have one that I did years ago. I can send it to you so you can kind of see what the product physically looks like.
Yeah, this one was this was actually a shirt that we did. And the printer Aaron Kane, he does these incredible gold foil covers. Incredible. So this is going to be an Aaron Kane limited gold foil that's going to be authored through Filbo distribution in January. So if you don't have Filbo's distribution, or you're not familiar with it, go to Filbo's distribution and it's publishing. He has a catalog that comes out every month. The January catalog will have this cover available in it that you could order to stores or to yourself regular.
Okay. Like I said, Display might be something you want to look at just as an additional offering for merchandise to your fans or whatever. Like I said, you could just set up an artist profile, whatever, and they do metal prints. And like I said, they are a legit company that does good work, especially if you ever see any of their limited stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a company like that you have the access. I happen to work with Aaron, who's a fantastic printer with specialty covers. I did a few specialty covers with him throughout the years. I did all black one, all red one. A lot of times his covers are my biggest sellouts. So we're giving that an opportunity to be in stores for the first time with this limited cover. So we're expanding it to Filbo distribution with this cover.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next one. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead, man.
And I was saying this cover comes in the foil. It doesn't come in the standard. It's offered as a foil cover through the distribution.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's see, we got here the bear. Describe this.
Now, this one's a little funny. For those that read Beer and Bullets, if you see the cover, they know that this is really a page from Beer and Bullets, right? It's just a placement, but it turns into a funny statement by a person that read Beer and Bullets and read one of Malcolm's other comic books that had a bear in it. Mm-hmm. And it started out as a joke, as he's saying, something that bear in his own comic book. And we was talking about it as a joke, but they not just said, something I'm going to do it. So I got with Malcolm McFadden and I wrote a script about a bear, right? And this is the logo. We're just using this page as a placement cover because the actual official cover is being done now. Okay. But that's how fast a project could get started. Yeah. And that's going to be a one shot or the bear one shot.
I'm curious. We didn't ask earlier. I don't mean to. I keep saying it, but I'm curious. How long does it take you on average to do a script? Like, how many pages a day do you write? Because I know, like with artists, they usually try to do, especially the really good ones, they try to do a page to 2 pages a day, depending on how detailed the scene is.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has a different process, but my process is all about how much of the idea I have immediate. So if I have the full idea immediate, I usually write the scripts really fast because now you're just telling the story. If it's something more delicate or longer or more information that you got put into it and build, obviously those scripts are going to take longer. But for the most part, if I have the idea out already, it doesn't take me long to do the script. Maybe within the week, I can have this whole script done, if shorter than that.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. So on average, it could take you about 7 days.
Yeah.
All right, correct. It depends on how much of the script I know I'm doing, and how much I am developing as I'm writing.
Okay. Want to tell us more about this? I was just curious, since you just said you just came up with it, and it was a question I wanted to ask you earlier. I don't think we have any other covers. I think we already talked about it. Let me see. Oh no, yeah. So that is the last one. So what can people expect from this? I know it was based off of an idea that somebody had, but what can people expect from this book?
It actually would be almost like a continuation of Bear and Bullets, because 615's character Subject Zero and Page One Comics character Pinpoint do meet up again in the beginning of this comic book, and that leads into the circumstances of what happens with how this bear goes a little nuts and it becomes a terrorizing figure in this neighborhood. So it's going to have a little bit of the action part of Subject Zero and Pinpoint as they once again meet up and continue from the pages of Bear and Bullets and that will lead into the story of this crazed out bear that goes into this rampage and why it goes into this rampage. So definitely look out for that in 2026. I am already on page 16 or 17 of the script. I just started the script a couple of days ago.
How many pages do you think you're going to go to in this one?
I think right now it's going to be anywhere in the 30s. So I think it's going to be a standard 32 or 38 some pages. Because I'm already at page 15, 16. I'm just really getting into the meat of the action right now. So I'm sure another 15, 20 pages will be done when it's all done.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so that's almost a full 32 pages. Not bad.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm sure.
So
yeah, look out for that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look out for that.
I was just saying. So as we kind of wrap it up now. So with this being another project you're doing with Malcolm, you could see in the foreseeable future you're doing a lot more projects with him. You kind of really enjoying working with Malcolm.
Yeah, actually, Malcolm is also writing a crossover of one of my characters and one of his characters, my character Blazing Sun and his character Bronx Soul as well. Right now, is in the process of writing that script, and that's like our superhero characters, and that's the fun about the indie market. The indie market, you could kind of work with anybody, because it's just your character and their character and about a story you'll put together. So it just makes it fun.
So there's a lot less bureaucracy that has to happen.
It's not a difficult process, because all you gotta do is talk to that particular creator and be like, well, what's the idea? All right, let's do it. What I mean? You don't have to go through no special contracts, no special privileges. You know what I mean? Because it's all self-controlled characters.
Okay. Last thing out. So you did mention doing a crossover with Concrete. What are the crossovers that we're gonna see from you with Concrete Comics?
What is one of the crossovers?
Yeah.
I submitted 2 crossovers to Concrete Comics for 2026, and I'm waiting for those approval and edits to come back before you can talk about them.
Okay. So we got a lot of good things coming from you in 2026. So is there anything else before we close off? Ron, anything else? It's been interesting talking to you. We did learn a lot about the crossovers and the coming together of creators and that kind of stuff. It has been enlightening. And we'd probably like to hear about more in the future. But we kind of did an hour here now, so we're looking to close up. So anything else before we go?
Yes, on top of Footpath and the Bear Bullets and Blowtorch being distributed in Philbo's distribution, next year I also wrote my first 2 horror comic books, which would be part of a second sight anthology next year, coming out next year. One called Hello and one called Identical Kill Twins. So look out for that as well as my first, as I step into the horror comic field, writing those type of comic books, which was really fun. And hopefully they're as well received as the action books.
Okay,
so that'll
that's
actually give me
idea.
a question that I'll ask you. Doesn't have to be a long answer. I've asked this question in our group before, but I'd like to hear from you. What genre would you like to see Black creators do more of? I mean, superhero genre is standard. And I'm not looking for the general answer of like, well, we write all the genres. Like, I'm not saying we don't write it, but what would you like to see us move more into for variance, for diversity? That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. But what do you like to read?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's up to the reader. What kind of style comic book they want to follow?
What would you? Yeah, what would you personally like?
What would you like to see? Because, like I said, superhero. Everybody comes in trying to do a superhero. Everybody wants to come in and do the ultra badass character. But there's noir books. There's crime thriller. There's murder. You're stepping into horror. Like, what genre would you like to see us venture into more? Superheroes, badassery is standard. But what like? And I'm not even with sci-fi, like not just Afrofuturism, because for some reason people feel like, especially if you're Black, that's what you got to move into. You don't always have to. There's so many different genres. Where would you like to see us kind of move into more?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan of action, so for me, I like action. That's what I like to read. That's what I like to write. But of course, there's in comic books out there with cosmic character backgrounds. You recently you mentioned Jason Wise earlier with the artifacts. So you have people that goes down different roads. Some is heritage, some is a cosmic power or a relationship to a god power, and so you got, depending on what the reader wants, there's a variety of titles across the board that goes into whether it's horror, heritage, cosmic, superhero. I don't particularly do superhero, but I like action comic books and that's why usually what I stick to myself.
Yeah,
reading and writing. But yeah, there's a wide variety of comic books out there. It all depends on what the reader's looking for, and and you can find it, whether it's magical, fantasy. It's out there in the Black market.
Yeah, like I said, I know it's out there, but we're gonna wrap up. It's just me personally. I would like to see us venture into more, just different genres. I know there's what the readers want and there's what people favor, but I would like to see us venture into more things. Other than that, man, it's been fun. Like Alan said, it's been enlightening. Man, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
No problem, man.
Let's go ahead and end this and then just stay on for a little bit. All right, man. Y'all take it easy. Special episode. Me and Alan are going to try to get back to it regularly next year, probably mid to late January when we get some things settled, everybody. But take it easy, be blessed, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Let's see.